Welcome, my dear friends. I am Pon Kulendran, the dual language writer. I produce a presentation over the video about short story writing. This is about writing a novel. Writing a novel takes a very long time. I have written, I think, about 8 novels, few in Tamil and few in English. In Tamil, the best novel I wrote was Vidivu Illam, Tadamuragal. In Tamil, those two stories were based on, the first one was based on an expected Tamil to Scarborough. The second story was based on a tea estate worker. Now I have written the same Vidivu Illam in English as The Dawn. And in addition, in English, I have written two or three stories, if I could remember. One is the surrogate mother, Vadagattai. The second one I wrote was about, again, generations, the tea estate worker, the translation of the Tamil novel. The third was Kalambu Cooley. It's about an Natanme in Peta. My stories are purely based on Sri Lanka and the upper or middle class people. The latest story I wrote, the novel I wrote was, which won a prize, was Krama Maruradu, a village is changing. It's about an expatriate Tamil from Canada who went back to his village after 50 years. He was a doctor, and how he meets his old friend and the girlfriend. The same story which I am writing now is going to be published soon. It's in English. The Unforgettable Memories. It will be published through Notion Press. Now, I must tell you few things about writing a novel. I try to avoid writing historical novels. Only one novel which I wrote was in English, in Tamil, is Dutugai Manu. It's about Dutugai Manu. I am planning to write one more thing about King Rajaraja Singha, the last Tamil king of Kandy, which I am planning to going to take a long time because I have to do a little bit of research on it. I also have an idea of writing about a novel based on King Rajendra Cholan, who ruled after King Rajaraja Cholan and conquered the entire Sri Lanka. Actually, he captured King Mahinda, who was defeated by Rajendra Cholan. He went to Ruhuna and was hiding there in the forest. And he was planning with the Pandyas to attack Rajaraja Cholan again. So he sent his son, Rajendra Cholan, and he was much a better king. And he went and captured Mahinda and sent him as an exile to India. And that Mahinda, I think Mahinda the fifth, he died there. That was a novel which I have in my mind, which might take a lot of research to be done. Now, writing a novel is not so easy. First, you must have a very good plot that should attract the people. So, the first thing is that you have to work out the chapters, start from the beginning, and the first chapter itself should attract the people's reading. You should try to avoid lot of description. Only in a historical novel it needs a lot of description, like Kalki. Kalki is a tremendous historical writer like Chandilian, and he takes you back to nearly about 1,500 years or 1,000 years backwards. And to imagine how the people were living and how they were traveling, it's really a fabulous thing. It's easy to write a social novel at the present period because you are experiencing it. Now, writing a novel, the most important thing is write the plot in a synopsis basis. Write the names of the characters. Do not have too many characters. And one of the things that I have a mind, which I have already written a synopsis of the thing, is Unity Street. It's about a Unity Street in Columbus, Alabama. The name was given because that name was uh, given by the Britishers as lot of different types of ethnic groups of people were living in that route. The Sinhalese, the Burghers, the Tamils, the upcountry Tamils, the Muslims, the Kafis, and also there were the Pathans. One time Pathans were also living in Patani, they were called. So because of the different types of people, ethnic groups were living, that road was named as Unity Street. Please remember that is a name, imaginative name, and it's an imaginative story. So how these people were living in the British time and how the situation changes into the present time after the independence. How the within the Sinhalese, there are the upcountry two Sinhalese, the Canadian Sinhalese families living there, the Karavas are also living there. Also, in the Tamil families, you see the two types of people: the Kalambu Tamil, the upcountry Tamil, and also the Jaffna Tamil. The three types of people who are living there. Or the Muslims, also we had from the eastern province, also from the Kalambu, and also from Beruvala. So these are people who always have their differences after the independence. Before the independence, the story was different. The families were very united till about 1958 60, and gradually the ethnic rift is taking place. And because of the political situation, the politicians saw the seeds of ethnic hatred, and gradually the people started hating, the community started hating each other, hating each other. The story goes around that earlier they used to meet in a community hall and play games and chess and cricket and all together. Gradually, they sort of found that it was not possible. So the story is going on like that, and the plot has been written on that basis, based on these characters. And the end of the story is that you will notice that I am going to a different turn in that story. The name of the street has been changed to some Vihara name, as a Buddhist Vihara comes up there, and it has been now been completely, the streets were completely being, the people who were living in that road was more Sinhalese Buddhist because of the Vihara. Now all these ideas came to me because when I was in Velavatta, I experienced some of these things. There is also a road called Vihara Lane, which is supposed to be a road opposite the see the other side of the sea, and that Vihara Lane, it consists of it goes to a falls on a canal, and supposed to be most of the thugs live in that area. Also, there is a road that's called about the uh, somewhere going on the west seaside, that has a Bihara lane, some Bihara lane, or not Bihara lane, something to do with the Buddhist Center Road or something. So, based on these environments of my experiences, and also the people whom I met, that story was built. On that basis, I have worked out the details of it. Still, I have not completed. It might take a lot of time. Now, a novel, the most important thing is that the name should be short. It should not be too long. And as far as possible, we shall try to bring in conversational talk. And another factor is the chapters, each chapters have to be planned. You should not have more than 30 chapters. which is roughly about 30, more than between 30 and 35,000 words. It's quite a big novel, which is a social novel. And the other most important thing in the novel is you should make sure that when a reader reads it, he gets really absorbed into that environment. You have to be little descriptive of the places that incident is taking place. Suppose if I say it is taking place in Columbus 7, you should know what a Columbus 7, the Cinnamon Garden area is. You should know the Turf Club. You should know the Royal College. You should know the Thurston College University. Of course, you should know the Inner Harbour Road, and also where the present Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's house is. And because I know all those areas in my fingertips, because I've been traveling all over Colombo with my fingertips. Suppose if we are going to write about Cartagena, the incident, you should know where the Cartagena is, Saint Anthony State, even the hill, and all those areas. Suppose if we are going to write about Colpity, you should know where the Liberty Theatre is, Methodist Church is, Pereira and Sons is, etc. Or else you are going to write about Fort area, Fort Station, railway station, and the Post and Telecom area. Then comes the Godface Green, Godface Hotel. On all those things, you should know about it before you writing about the novel, about the incidents that took places in these districts. This is very important so that people who have never been there will know. Even people who are reading from Jaffna who have never been to Colombo will know, okay, this guy has been to Colombo and he knows writing about Colombo as well. This is what I wrote in my book called Colombo Coolie. The Colombo Coolie was based purely on Peta, about a Nathan a coolie who was working there, who came from India on Kalatoni, and how he became a gang or sort of a leader of a labor force. And he could speak all three languages. And that particular story circles around Peta, Mardan, Kotahena. And I should know about Mardana. Mardana is supposed to be an area of Panchagavata, and those areas are clearly being a very business area and supposed to be having a red light. It's supposed to be a red light area one time. I don't know how it is. So these are facts that a novel writer, before he writes, he should have some experience about the situation. This is what I wrote about my first novel, The Dawn, or called Budivillam, about an expatriate population man who came from Urumbra, with his family landed after 83 riots and a war in Scarborough. So I was living in Scarborough for about 6 months, and I used to visit Scarborough frequently. I knew the way of life and how the business people are, how their apartment life is, how they hang their clothes on the thing, and lot of things. And how the people carry the free papers in a bundle in their armpit, or they meet in the mall and gossip, or take a buy from the LCBO a whiskey bottle or something, and then go and have a drink and home. All that is coming into the story. So that you take, when you read it, you will know, okay, this guy has been in Scarborough for some time. So when you are writing a novel, it's very, very important. You should know the environment. And that is very vital in writing a novel. And also, you should be very clear in your conversation. Never make things confused to the reader, so that it should be simple. In Tamil, sorry, it's very nicely, we could put in once in a way sarcastic remarks or sort of a riddle like conversation, which been handled by people like Jayakantan and even Pudumapittan. So, but that style is very, very old style. But you have to change your way of style. Well, you have to use sometimes English words in your conversation. We can't be just purely write Tamil words because people may sometimes may not know of some of the pure Tamil words. Suppose if you say I'm going by train from Bellavath to Colombo Fort, நான் ரயிலில் போனேன் என்று சொல்லாமல் ஒரு தொடர் வண்டியில் போனேன் என்றால் they will not understand what it means. You know, same thing நான் வெள்ளவத்தையில் இருந்து பம்பளப்பிட்டிக்கு பஸ்ஸில் போனேன் என்று சொன்னாமல் நான் பேருந்தில் போனேன் என்றால் that is it may be a pure Tamil, but some other people may not understand what perundu is. So these are things that you have to be very careful when you are using with the words. The other part of the novel writing is the character. You must know what the character's behavior is, what you are trying to sort of present him or her character. That had to be come out very clearly. And writing a love story is different from writing a normal family story or normal social story. Each differs. And another thing is the end of the story. The end of the story, you must keep the readers under grip. They should know what is going to be the end of the story. So you bring in a sudden turn in the end of the story, which I always adapt the way that I do it. Now, for instance, in the story of the Colombo coolie, this guy came here and he got married in Colombo to another estate girl who was working in a servant as a servant in a Sinhalese family, businessman's family. He falls in love with her, and finally, uh, then he decides he has two sons born in Colombo, and he thinks that is he going to get a citizenship? No, he is not going to get a citizenship. He was not within that Sirimao Sastri Bandanayak Sinma Sastri pact. So he was working as a non-citizen. So he been advised by the Sinhalese boss Ratnayaka, who was a businessman, and said that your life is going to be very tough here after working so much. Why don't you get back to your own country and you have a land there? You take this money and invest there and do your farming. Then he thinks that's a sensible thing. And your wife is also very good. You can go and run a restaurant there. And he decides. And he gets back to his country in the ship and gets back to his house and the land, and he starts continuing his old farming job and being very well welcomed by the farmers. And the wife starts what he called a night school for the old people, as well as he does a restaurant. The story ends there. So the end is always very vital, the very most important thing in a novel, and it should they should not be able to guess what is going to be the end. These are the things that you should know about writing a novel, and the conversation of these things. Try to avoid as far as possible descriptive. Try to be very simple in the words, short sentences, and make the people, the readers, feel what you are going to say. That is what is important in a novel. So it should not go beyond 30 chapters, 32, 35 chapters, and say about between 30 and 35,000 words. And plan out the chapters first, plan out the names of the characters, write out the gist of the plot, the story, background of this. Make sure what you are going to say, and you get yourself involved in writing the novel. That is what is important. Now I am in the process of writing that or Krama Margari is going to be published soon as unforgettable memories. I have almost finished and I am going through the final manuscript to do the spell check, grammar check, and also it takes a lot of time, and I don't get a help from any of our community. If you go and ask them, they are quick to pick up. There are mistakes in Tamil. There are எழுத்து பிழைகள் அங்கே இருக்குது இங்கே இருக்குது. They are very good to pick holes, but they will never come and help you. And they will never identify where the mistakes are. I tell you, this is the fact. It's easy to criticize. It's easy to pick holes, but they never appreciate. Okay, this guy has a very good creative way of presenting it. Never, except few writers only comment about few readers only comment about my writing, and that only inspires me. Don't think that I'm very critical about the people's attitude, and I have to be telling this. This is an only opportunity. I am writing. I have written so many stories of nearly more than 600 to 700 more novels and in English and Tamil, and the input is very, very poor. And to get even a preface is a very difficult, a forward is a very difficult thing. Except I have few selected friends who are very willing. And I must thank Siva Sinnaya, who was an English teacher and is a lecturer, for writing the forward for my book, Unseparable, uh, Unseparable Memories. And, you know, this is the attitude of our people. Our people are very good in criticizing, but they are not at all helpful in helping a creative man. Thank you very much. I wish you will understand a writer's, what can I say, feelings on these things. Bye now. Thanks. Pon Kulendran, Canada.